Young lady slapped wrong guy by mistake, but not knowing he's a millionaire and fell in love with her. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. It all started on a regular day in the bustling city of New York, a city where dreams are made, but also where people often feel invisible. Emma Brooks, a waitress with big dreams, was walking into an upscale restaurant for a blind date she wasn't really excited about. She wasn't exactly comfortable in places like this. As she walked through the elegant dining room, the soft hum of conversations and the clinking of silverware filled the air. The lighting was warm and subdued, giving the restaurant a luxurious, cozy feel. But Emma, in her second-hand dress and scuffed shoes, didn't feel like she belonged here at all. She didn't even feel confident enough to stand tall as she walked past tables of polished, confident diners. She glanced at her reflection in the glossy window outside, reminding herself, asterisk, "You promised Jenny you'd do this. You'll be fine." Asterisk. Her heart pounded in her chest, her hands trembling as she glanced around for the man she was supposed to meet. Her eyes landed on a sharply dressed man sitting alone at a table near the back. His dark hair was neatly styled, and he seemed deeply engrossed in his phone. This had to be him, she muttered to herself. Asterisk. Table 7. Table 7. Asterisk. She could barely hear her own heartbeat over the rush of nerves. Taking a deep breath, she walked over, forcing a bright smile. "Hi, you must be Kevin. I'm Emma. Nice to meet you." Liam Parker looked up at her, startled. He blinked a few times, clearly confused. Emma mistook his hesitation for shyness, thinking he was just the quiet type she had been warned about. He wasn't exactly what she had expected from the guy Jenny had set her up with, but she decided to push through it. "Oh, I know, blind dates can be a little awkward, right?" she added with a laugh, hoping to ease the tension. "Jenny told me you might be a little shy, but don't worry, I'm great at making small talk." Liam opened his mouth to speak, but hesitated. His business associate had just texted him to cancel their meeting, and something about Emma's genuine smile made him pause. She wasn't like the polished socialites he was used to meeting, she was real, and there was something refreshing about that. He smiled faintly, deciding to go along with it. "Right, blind dates are. Something else," he said, settling back in his chair. Emma took a sip of water, nervously scanning the menu. She was determined to make this work, though she still couldn't believe she had agreed to this date. "Tell me about yourself." "I'm a waitress. Not exactly glamorous, but it helps me pay the bills. Most of them anyway." She laughed awkwardly, trying to lighten the mood. "What about you? What do you do?" Liam hesitated for a moment. "I work in tech," he said, his smile widening as he leaned back in his chair, studying her. The conversation started to flow more easily after that. Emma shared stories about her difficult shifts at the diner and her dreams of opening an art studio one day. As they spoke, Liam found himself laughing more than he had in months. Her enthusiasm was contagious. "You're not what I expected," Emma said, suddenly thoughtful. "Jenny said you were reserved, but you're easy to talk to." Liam chuckled softly. "You're easy to talk to too, Emma." Just as she was about to ask more about his work in tech, her phone buzzed. She looked at it and then froze. The message read, asterisk, "Hey, Emma, where are you? I'm at table 7. Looking forward to meeting you, Kevin." Asterisk. Her heart sank as she reread the message, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. She looked up at Liam, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're not Kevin, are you?" Liam's smile faltered, guilt flickering in his eyes. "No, I'm not." Emma's face flushed a deep shade of red. She stood up abruptly. "I'm so sorry. I sat at the wrong table. This is so embarrassing." Without waiting for a response, she grabbed her coat and bolted for the door. Liam stood up as well, calling after her. "Emma, it's okay, really." But she was already halfway to the door, her face aflame with embarrassment. Liam watched her go, a strange mix of regret and curiosity swirling in his chest. He had intended to correct her from the start, but now, as he stood there, he couldn't shake the feeling that he might want to see her again. And for the first time in a long while, he couldn't understand why the thought of not seeing her again bothered him so much. Emma hurried out of the restaurant, her heart pounding in her chest, her cheeks still burning with embarrassment. She felt like the whole world was watching her, even though she knew it wasn't true. Her legs carried her quickly down the sidewalk, away from the restaurant and the man she had just embarrassed herself in front of. She didn't know why, but something told her she couldn't go back, not after that. She needed to get out of there, to forget about the awkward encounter and move on with her life. She reached for her phone to check the time, knowing she would be late for her shift at the diner. Her fingers brushed against the cold screen, but her thoughts kept drifting back to the man at the table, to Liam. She had been so sure he was Kevin. She couldn't stop thinking about how easy it had been to talk to him, how warm his smile had been, the way he had made her feel at ease, even though everything else about the situation had been so uncomfortable. But now that she knew the truth, she felt like a fool. A few minutes later, Emma arrived at the diner, trying to shake off the embarrassment. She quickly changed into her uniform and went to work. But her mind was still racing. She couldn't focus on anything. All she could think about was the man she had met at the restaurant. His name wasn't Kevin, but it didn't matter. He was someone she could never forget. The evening passed in a blur. She served food, took orders, and tried to keep a smile on her face. But her thoughts kept wandering back to him. What if she had handled the situation differently? What if she hadn't run away so quickly? What if they could have spent more time together? Just as she was about to leave for the night, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Jenny. Asterisk. Hey, how was the date? You didn't leave early, did you? Asterisk. Emma smiled at the message, even though it only reminded her of how terribly she had messed up. She typed back a quick response. Asterisk. It was. Fine. Just a little awkward. I think I sat at the wrong table. Haha. Asterisk. Jenny replied almost instantly. Asterisk. Oh no, but you'll laugh about it later. You should totally go back and apologize. He might be the one. Asterisk. Emma shook her head at the message. There was no way she was going back there. It was too embarrassing. She couldn't face him again. But even as she thought that, a small voice in the back of her mind whispered, Asterisk. What if you did go back? What if he's still thinking about you? Asterisk. The next few days went by, and Emma tried her best to put the whole thing out of her mind. But it was hard. She couldn't stop thinking about Liam, about how he had looked at her with those warm, understanding eyes, and how he had smiled even when she had made such a fool of herself. It was as if he hadn't judged her at all. She tried to distract herself by focusing on her work and her art, but nothing seemed to help. One evening, as she was walking home from her shift, she was stopped by a familiar voice. Emma, wait! She turned around, her heart skipping a beat. It was Liam. He was standing a few feet away, looking at her with that same faint smile on his lips. I know this might seem strange, he said, his voice a little hesitant, but I wanted to make sure you're okay after what happened the other night. Emma blinked, taken aback. She hadn't expected to see him again, let alone have him approach her. I'm fine, she replied quickly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. I really don't know what happened. I'm sorry for running out like that. Liam chuckled softly, shaking his head. It's okay. I understand. Honestly, I didn't mind. But I did want to make sure you weren't feeling too embarrassed. That wasn't my intention, I promise. Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her, but she was still unsure of what to say. I really didn't mean to cause such a scene, she said, her voice quiet. I panicked. Liam nodded, his expression softening. I get it. But, if you'd like, I'd love to make it up to you. Maybe we could grab a coffee sometime, just the two of us? No blind date, no awkwardness, just two people getting to know each other. Emma felt a rush of warmth in her chest. For the first time since their awkward meeting, she felt a spark of hope. Maybe this could turn into something more. She wasn't sure yet, but she was willing to give it a chance. I'd like that, she said, a small smile tugging at the corner of her lips. Liam's smile widened, and he nodded. Great. I'll text you the details then. And hey, no more mistaken identities this time, okay? Emma laughed softly, feeling the tension in her shoulders ease. I promise. As she watched him walk away, a strange feeling of excitement bubbled up inside her. Maybe things weren't as awkward as they seemed. Maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something new. The days passed by in a blur for Emma, the excitement from her unexpected encounter with Liam lingering in her mind like a warm memory she couldn't shake. She found herself glancing at her phone more than usual, hoping for a message from him, wondering if he would actually follow through with his offer. It wasn't long before she received a text. Asterisk. Hey, how about tomorrow at 10 a.m.? I know a great little cafe not far from here. Hope that works for you. Asterisk. Emma smiled at the message, her heart skipping a beat. She quickly typed a reply. Asterisk. That sounds perfect. See you then. Asterisk. The next morning, Emma walked into the cafe feeling both nervous and excited. The place was cozy, with soft jazz music playing in the background, and the smell of fresh coffee filling the air. She arrived a little early, scanning the room for any sign of Liam. As she waited, she couldn't help but think about how different this meeting felt compared to their first. This wasn't a blind date, and there was no awkward tension. This was just two people getting to know each other. She was still a little anxious, though. What if she embarrassed herself again? What if he didn't like her the way she hoped? Her thoughts were interrupted when she heard a voice. Hey, Emma. She turned around to see Liam walking toward her, a casual smile on his face. He was dressed in a simple jacket and jeans, looking effortlessly handsome. Emma stood up, feeling her nerves calm as he reached her side. Hey, Liam, she replied, smiling back. It's good to see you again. They sat down at a small table near the window, the soft sunlight streaming in, casting a warm glow on everything around them. For a moment, neither of them spoke. They just sat there, enjoying the comfortable silence between them. Finally, Liam broke the ice. So, tell me more about your art. Jenny mentioned that you want to open your own studio one day. Emma blinked in surprise. She hadn't expected him to bring up something so personal so quickly, but it felt natural. She smiled, a little hesitant at first. But then she found herself opening up. Yeah, I've always wanted to have my own place, a little studio where I can paint, create, and maybe even teach some classes. I love the idea of sharing that with other people, helping them find their own creative spark. She paused, feeling vulnerable for a moment. But it's hard. I work 2 jobs just to make ends meet, and it feels like every time I get close to something, I'm knocked back down. Liam listened intently, his gaze softening as she spoke. I can only imagine how tough that must be, he said sincerely. But you've got the passion, Emma. That's the most important part. I'm sure you'll get there one day. Emma felt a warmth spread through her at his words, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like someone truly understood her. They spent the next hour talking about everything and anything, life, dreams, struggles, and small personal victories. As they spoke, Emma started to realize that there was more to Liam than just the millionaire businessman she had imagined. He was kind, thoughtful, and genuinely interested in what she had to say. For the first time, she felt like he was seeing her not just the waitress or the girl from the blind date, but Emma, the person with real hopes and dreams. Liam shared a little about himself too, telling her about his work in tech, his love for problem solving, and his struggles with balancing his career with his personal life. It was easy to talk to him, and the more they talked, the more she found herself drawn to him. She hadn't expected this meeting to go so well. But there it was no awkwardness, no misunderstandings, just 2 people connecting. I really appreciate you meeting with me, Emma said as the conversation started to wind down. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I'm glad we did this. Liam smiled, his eyes meeting hers. I'm glad too. It's nice to just talk, without all the pressure. I don't think I've had a conversation like this in a long time. They stood up to leave, and Liam reached for his wallet to pay. Emma quickly stopped him, feeling a sense of pride. No, I've got it this time. I insisted on coming, remember? Liam chuckled, holding his hands up in mock surrender. Fair enough. But next time, I'm buying. Emma smiled, feeling the connection between them grow stronger. As they stepped outside into the cool morning air, Liam turned to her. I know this is only the beginning, but I'm really enjoying getting to know you, Emma. I hope this isn't the last time we see each other." Emma felt her heart flutter at his words, a warm feeling spreading through her. "I'd like that too," she replied softly. As they said their goodbyes and went their separate ways, Emma couldn't help but feel like something had changed. This wasn't just a chance meeting anymore. This was the start of something real, something meaningful. And as she walked back home, she couldn't shake the thought that maybe, just maybe, she had found something special after all. Emma spent the next few days thinking about Liam, the coffee date that had gone so unexpectedly well, and how easy it felt to talk to him. She couldn't remember the last time she had been so open with someone, especially a stranger. But with Liam, everything seemed natural, like they were meant to meet. Yet, part of her still couldn't shake the feeling that she was just a regular girl from a small world, while Liam lived in a completely different universe, one of wealth and privilege. Despite everything that had happened between them, she couldn't forget that he was still the same man who she had mistakenly slapped at the restaurant, and she couldn't deny the unease that came with it. She knew they were from different worlds, and that small, nagging voice in her head kept telling her to stay cautious. One evening, as Emma was walking home from her second job, her phone buzzed with a new message. It was from Liam, *. "Hey, how about dinner this weekend? I was thinking about something casual, just the two of us. No pressure, just want to hang out." Emma smiled at the message, feeling her heart flutter in her chest. She quickly replied, "That sounds great. I'd love that." They decided to meet at a cozy Italian restaurant downtown. As the weekend approached, Emma felt a mix of excitement and nerves. She had told herself she wasn't going to overthink it, but she couldn't help it. She spent the day before their dinner trying on different outfits, not sure what to wear for someone like Liam. She wasn't used to this, but she couldn't deny the feeling that she wanted to look nice. As she stood in front of her mirror, adjusting her dress, she reminded herself not to get too caught up in appearances. After all, Liam had already seen her at her most awkward, and still, he wanted to see her again. It was comforting in a way. The night of their dinner, Emma arrived at the restaurant a little early, her heart racing with anticipation. She sat at a small table near the window, glancing out at the bustling city street as she waited for Liam. A few minutes later, she saw him walking toward her, looking as effortless as always in a crisp shirt and jeans. He waved when he saw her, his usual warm smile lighting up his face. "Hey, Emma," he greeted, pulling out the chair and sitting down across from her. "How's your week been?" "Busy but good," she replied, returning his smile. "I've been juggling a lot of shifts, but it's been nice to have a bit of a break tonight." The waiter came by to take their drink orders, and they ordered wine before diving into casual conversation. They talked about their weeks, their plans for the future, and their shared love of art. Emma felt more at ease with each passing minute, her nerves slowly fading away. She couldn't remember the last time she had felt this comfortable with someone. As they finished their meal, the conversation turned to deeper topics. "So, what do you really want out of life, Emma?" Liam asked, his tone sincere. Emma paused, her fork halfway to her mouth, thinking about his question. It wasn't the first time she'd asked herself that, but it still felt hard to answer. "I guess I want to find something that makes me happy," she said after a beat. "I've always wanted to have my own art studio, to teach others, and create my own space. But it's hard, you know? Life gets in the way." Liam nodded, his gaze steady. "I get it. It's easy to let life take over and forget about your own dreams. But I think you can make it happen, Emma. You've got the passion, and that's half the battle." Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest at his words. "Thanks, Liam. That means a lot to me." She smiled, her eyes meeting his. They shared a quiet moment, the weight of the conversation lingering in the air between them. The rest of the evening passed by in a blur of laughter, gentle conversation, and moments of connection. When the check came, Liam reached for his wallet, but Emma stopped him. "Let me get this one," she said. "You've already been generous enough with your time." Liam raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. "Okay, if you insist." After paying, they left the restaurant together, stepping into the cool night air. "I had a really great time tonight," Liam said, his voice soft. "I'm glad we did this," Emma smiled, feeling her heart race again. "Me too. It's nice to just enjoy the moment, you know?" Liam nodded, his expression serious but warm. Definitely. And I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. Emma's heart fluttered at his words. She wasn't sure where this was going either, but she knew she was starting to feel something real. As they walked to their cars, Liam turned to her, a mischievous glint in his eye. So, what do you say to a second date? Maybe a little less formal, though. Emma laughed, feeling lighter than she had in a long time. I think I'd like that, she replied. Just no more mistaken identities, okay? Liam chuckled, holding his hands up in mock surrender. No promises, he teased. Emma rolled her eyes playfully, and with a final wave, they parted ways, both of them smiling as they went in different directions. As Emma walked back to her apartment, she couldn't help but feel a sense of hope blooming in her chest. Maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something more than just an accidental meeting. Something real. And for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to believe in it. The next few weeks flew by, each day blending into the next as Emma's life continued its usual hustle. She worked her shifts at the diner, spent her free time sketching in her worn-out notebook, and occasionally, she would see Liam. Each time, their connection grew stronger, and each time, Emma felt a little more alive. There was something about Liam that made her feel seen, understood in a way she hadn't experienced in a long time. He was kind, attentive, and unlike anyone she had ever met. But despite their growing bond, a part of Emma remained hesitant. The reality of their different worlds kept creeping into her thoughts. Liam had his own life, his own world of wealth and privilege, and she was just a waitress trying to make ends meet. How long would it be before that difference became too much to overcome? One Saturday afternoon, after a particularly exhausting shift, Emma was walking home when her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, half expecting it to be a message from Liam. She smiled when she saw his name on the screen. Asterisk. Hey, how about I take you to that art gallery you've been talking about? I found a special exhibit, and I think you'd love it. Asterisk. Emma paused, her heart skipping a beat. She had mentioned the gallery to him a few weeks ago, but she hadn't expected him to actually follow through. She quickly typed her reply, asterisk. That sounds amazing. I'd love to go. Asterisk. They agreed to meet at the gallery later that evening, and Emma found herself excited. This was different. It wasn't just dinner or coffee. This felt like something more, something real. As she walked into the gallery, Emma felt a sense of anticipation. The space was bright, with modern art pieces adorning the walls. She didn't recognize most of them, but the colors and the emotions they conveyed were beautiful. Liam was already waiting for her by the entrance, looking handsome in a simple jacket and jeans, a far cry from the formal suit he wore on their first date. He smiled when he saw her, his face lighting up. Hey, Emma, he greeted warmly, holding out his hand. Ready to be inspired? Emma laughed softly, feeling the tension in her shoulders ease. Absolutely. I've been dying to see this exhibit. They wandered through the gallery together, talking about each piece they saw, exchanging thoughts and opinions. Emma felt like she could be herself around him, something that was rare for her. She wasn't trying to impress him. She was just talking to him, and it felt so natural. As they moved from one piece to the next, Liam stopped in front of a painting that caught his eye. It was abstract, full of vibrant colors, and it seemed to evoke a sense of chaos and harmony at the same time. What do you think of this one? He asked, turning to Emma. Emma studied the painting for a moment, then smiled. I like it. There's something about it that feels alive, you know? Like it's a snapshot of a moment in time, all the different emotions colliding in one place. Liam nodded, his eyes softening as he looked at her. That's exactly how I see it too. They stood there for a moment, just looking at the painting, before Emma turned to Liam. I'm really glad you brought me here, she said softly. I didn't expect to find someone who shares my love for art, let alone someone who gets what it's all about. Liam smiled, his expression sincere. I'm glad we did this. There's something about being around people who understand the little things, you know? I feel like I've been surrounded by business and numbers for so long that I forgot how important creativity is. Emma smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. I get that, she replied. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day stuff and forget what really matters. But for me, art is everything. It's how I connect with the world. They spent the rest of the evening at the gallery, wandering through the exhibits and talking about their hopes and dreams. The connection between them felt stronger than ever. As the night came to an end, Liam walked Emma to her car, his hand brushing hers as they stood by the door. "I had a really great time tonight," Liam said, his voice low. "I think we've got something really special here, Emma, and I'm not going to let it go." Emma's heart raced at his words. She had been thinking the same thing, but hearing him say it out loud made it all feel so real. "I think so too," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam smiled, his eyes warm. "Good, because I want to see where this goes. I want to be with you, Emma." For a moment, Emma was silent, just letting the words sink in. She had been afraid of this, afraid of opening herself up to someone like Liam, someone who seemed so out of her reach. But standing there, looking into his eyes, she realized that maybe it didn't matter. Maybe they could make it work, no matter how different their lives seemed. "I want that too," she finally said, her voice steady. "I think we're worth it." Liam grinned, his hand reaching out to gently touch hers. "Then let's make it happen," he said, his voice full of hope. Emma smiled, feeling a sense of peace settle over her. Maybe it wasn't about their differences after all. Maybe it was about finding someone who saw you for who you really were. Someone who accepted you without hesitation. As Liam leaned in to kiss her, Emma closed her eyes, feeling like this was just the beginning of something beautiful. The days that followed were some of the happiest Emma had experienced in a long time. She and Liam continued to see each other regularly, their connection growing deeper with each passing day. They shared laughter, stories, and even a few quiet moments where words weren't necessary. Emma couldn't help but marvel at how easy it was to be with him. She was no longer just the waitress trying to make ends meet. She was Emma, someone who mattered, someone who was seen. And Liam? He was no longer just the successful businessman in a world that seemed so far removed from hers. He was the guy who listened, who cared, who made her feel like she was the most important person in the room. But despite the warmth between them, Emma still couldn't ignore the whispers in the back of her mind. What would happen when their worlds truly collided? Could their connection withstand the pressures of their different lives? Liam's world was full of glitzy events, high-powered meetings, and people who saw him for his wealth and success, not for who he truly was. And Emma? She had her small apartment, her part-time job, and the dreams she clung to, hoping one day they would become a reality. One afternoon, as Emma was finishing a shift at the diner, her phone buzzed. She picked it up, surprised to see a message from Liam. Asterisk. "Hey, can we meet? I need to talk to you about something important. Let me know when you're free." Asterisk. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She knew something serious was coming. She quickly responded. Asterisk. "Of course. I'm free in an hour. Should we meet at the usual spot?" Asterisk. Asterisk. "Yes. See you then." Asterisk. The cafe where they often met was quiet as Emma arrived, the familiar smell of freshly brewed coffee filling the air. She waited at a corner table, her fingers nervously tapping against her phone. A few minutes later, Liam walked in, looking serious, and Emma immediately stood up to greet him. "Hey," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Is everything okay?" Liam sat down across from her, his expression thoughtful. "Yeah, everything's fine. It's just..." He hesitated for a moment, searching for the right words. "I've been thinking a lot about us, Emma, about what we've been building together, and I want to be honest with you. There's something you don't know about me, something I've been keeping from you." Emma's heart raced as she listened, her mind swirling with questions. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam took a deep breath, his eyes meeting hers. "I'm a millionaire, Emma," he said, his voice calm but filled with a certain heaviness. "I own a tech company. I have the kind of money and resources that most people only dream of. I wanted to tell you sooner, but I didn't know how. I didn't want you to see me as just my wealth. I wanted you to see me for who I am, not for what I have." Emma blinked, stunned into silence. The words he had spoken hung in the air, filling the space between them. She had known there was something different about him, but hearing it from his lips made everything feel real. For a moment, she couldn't process what he was saying. She felt a wave of confusion and uncertainty wash over her. But then, as Liam continued to speak, she realized something that made her heart ache. "Emma," he said softly. I understand if this changes things. I never meant to deceive you. But I care about you, and I want to be with you. I don't want my money to come between us. The sincerity in his voice was undeniable, and Emma felt her heart flutter. She had always feared that money and status would get in the way of a meaningful relationship. But Liam wasn't the man she had initially imagined. He wasn't a cold, arrogant billionaire. He was someone who cared, who was vulnerable, who had been afraid of losing her. The thought that Liam could care for someone like her, despite everything, made her feel more valued than she had in a long time. Liam, she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. I don't know what to say. Liam reached across the table, gently taking her hand in his. You don't have to say anything, Emma. I just needed you to know the truth. I'm not asking you to accept my money or change your life for me. I'm asking you to see me for who I really am, the man who wants to be with you. Emma looked into his eyes, her own emotions swirling inside her. She had spent so much time wondering if this relationship was too good to be true, if their different worlds would ever be able to coexist. But now, looking at Liam, she realized that love wasn't about money or status. It was about the connection, the bond that had formed between them, something real and pure. I see you, Liam, she said softly, a small smile tugging at her lips. I see you for who you are, not for what you have, and that's all that matters to me. Liam's face lit up with relief, and he squeezed her hand gently. Thank you, Emma. That means more to me than you know. For the first time in what felt like forever, Emma allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, they could make it work, that their love was strong enough to overcome any obstacle, no matter how big or small. As they sat there, hands intertwined, Emma realized that the future was full of possibilities, and for the first time in a long time, she was ready to embrace them. The weeks that followed were filled with a new sense of joy and possibility for Emma. She and Liam continued to grow closer, spending more time together, laughing, sharing stories, and just enjoying each other's company. The tension that had once existed between them, that nagging feeling of their different worlds colliding, seemed to fade away with each passing day. Emma was no longer thinking about the future with fear and hesitation. She was thinking about it with hope. She was beginning to realize that love was more about the connection they shared than anything else. But, as much as things seemed to be falling into place, there were moments when Emma couldn't help but feel the weight of their differences. She had always been careful, always aware of the gap between their lives. And though Liam had made it clear that he cared about her, not her circumstances, Emma still struggled with her insecurities. One evening, Liam invited Emma to attend a gala with him, a charity event that he had been helping organize for his company. It was the kind of event she had always imagined herself on the outside of, watching from a distance, never believing she could be part of that world. As the night approached, Emma found herself filled with a mix of excitement and dread. What would she wear? How would she fit in? She wanted to be confident, to feel at ease. But the idea of walking into a room full of wealthy, successful people left her feeling nervous. She spent hours getting ready, trying on different dresses, finally settling on a simple, elegant black gown. It wasn't flashy, but it made her feel good, and that was all she could ask for. When she met Liam at the venue, he looked as handsome as ever, dressed in a perfectly tailored suit that made him look like he belonged in another world. But when he saw her, his face lit up with such warmth and admiration that Emma couldn't help but smile. You look incredible, Emma, he said softly, taking her hand as they walked inside together. Thank you, she replied, feeling her heart flutter at his words. I was a little nervous, but I'm glad we're here. As they entered the ballroom, the atmosphere was unlike anything Emma had ever experienced. The room was filled with shimmering lights, laughter, and the soft hum of conversation. People in expensive suits and gowns mingled, their glasses of champagne held high as they moved through the crowd. It was like stepping into a world she had only seen in movies. But with Liam by her side, she felt a little less like an outsider. The evening passed in a blur of introductions, polite conversation, and moments of laughter shared with Liam. He was by her side the entire night, making sure she was comfortable, introducing her to his colleagues and friends, and never once making her feel out of place. Emma couldn't help but be amazed at how effortlessly he navigated this world, and how easy he made it for her to feel like she belonged. After a few hours, they stepped outside for some fresh air. the cool breeze lifting Emma's spirits. Liam leaned against a stone pillar, looking at her with a soft, tender expression. "I know this must be overwhelming for you," he said gently, his hand resting on hers. "But I want you to know that you don't have to change for me. You're exactly who I've been looking for." Emma smiled, feeling a wave of gratitude wash over her. "I'm not sure I've ever felt like I belong here," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But with you, it's easier." Liam's eyes softened, and he stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You belong with me, Emma," he said quietly, "and that's all that matters." In that moment, everything felt perfect. Emma didn't care about the fancy dresses, the expensive champagne, or the people who had so much more than she ever dreamed of. All that mattered was Liam, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. The night ended with a drive through the city, the lights of the skyline shining brightly as they talked about everything and nothing. When they arrived back at her apartment, Emma felt a sense of peace settle in her heart. "Thank you for tonight, Liam," she said softly as they stood by the door. "It was everything I didn't know I needed." Liam smiled, brushing a gentle kiss on her forehead. "I'm glad," he said, his voice filled with warmth. "I'm glad we're on this journey together, Emma." She smiled, feeling a sense of belonging she had never known before. For the first time, Emma allowed herself to believe that love wasn't just for the privileged, the wealthy, the successful. It was for people like her, too. And as Liam walked away, she felt a quiet hope that this was just the beginning of something beautiful, something that would last. She was ready to embrace it, no matter what came next. The days that followed were filled with a sense of calm and certainty Emma had never known before. She and Liam continued to grow closer, their connection deepening with every passing moment. It seemed like they were slowly but surely building something real, something that neither of them had expected but both were starting to believe in. They spent weekends together, exploring art galleries, walking through parks, and even cooking meals at Emma's apartment. There was an ease between them now, a natural flow that made her feel like she had known him for much longer than she actually had. But as time went on, Emma couldn't ignore the little voice inside her head that whispered doubts. She found herself wondering if Liam was truly as happy as he seemed, if their worlds, his world of wealth and power, and hers of humble beginnings, could really blend together without a hitch. She had always believed in the idea of love, but this was different. This was the kind of love she never thought she would experience, the kind that came with its own set of challenges. And yet, every time Liam looked at her with those warm, gentle eyes, she knew she couldn't let fear stop her from exploring what they had. One afternoon, while they were having coffee at their favorite cafe, Liam took her hand across the table. His expression was serious, his usual playful smile replaced with a more contemplative look. "Emma," he began softly, "I've been thinking a lot about us lately." Emma felt her heart skip a beat. She wasn't sure what this was about, but she could tell it was something important. "What about us?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know we've been taking things slow, and I respect that," Liam continued, his thumb gently tracing the back of her hand. "But I need you to know that I'm all in, Emma. I want this. I want you. I don't want to keep holding back, waiting for the right moment or the right circumstances. I want to build something with you, something lasting." Emma's heart swelled at his words, and for a moment she felt overwhelmed by the depth of her feelings for him. She had always feared that she wasn't enough, that their differences would eventually drive them apart. But hearing Liam say those words, with such conviction and honesty, made her realize just how much they meant to each other. "I want that too, Liam," she said, her voice steady now, though her heart raced. "I'm just scared, scared that we'll hit a wall, that our worlds won't mesh in the way we want them to." Liam smiled softly, his eyes full of understanding. "I get it, Emma," he said, squeezing her hand. "But I'm not going anywhere. I'm here, and I'm not backing down. I want to be with you, no matter what. We'll figure it out, together." His words were simple, yet they carried so much weight. Emma felt the last of her fears start to melt away, replaced by a quiet confidence she hadn't felt in years. "Okay," she said, smiling through the sudden rush of emotion. "Let's figure it out." That night, after their coffee date, Liam drove her home. As they pulled up outside her apartment building, he turned to her, his expression softer than ever. "I've been thinking," he said, "about taking a trip. Just the two of us. Somewhere we can escape the world and just be ourselves for a little while." Emma's eyes widened in surprise. A trip? They had never talked about anything like that before. "Where would we go?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. "Anywhere you want," Liam replied with a grin. "Somewhere quiet, beautiful, just us. I thought it could be a way for us to really figure out what we want, without any distractions." Emma felt a flutter in her chest at the thought of it. A getaway with Liam? The idea of spending uninterrupted time together, away from everything, seemed too perfect to pass up. "I love that idea," she said, her voice filled with excitement. "Let's do it." Over the next few days, they planned their trip, a small, secluded cabin by the lake in a quiet town not far from the city. It was the kind of place where you could hear the sound of birds in the morning and the rustling of the trees in the evening, a peaceful retreat where the outside world couldn't intrude. As the day of their departure approached, Emma felt a sense of calm she hadn't expected. It wasn't just about the trip, it was about the journey they were taking together, the new chapter they were about to start. When the day finally came, they packed their bags and set off, the open road stretching out in front of them. The drive was filled with laughter, music, and moments of silence, the kind of silence that felt comforting rather than awkward. They arrived at the cabin just as the sun was setting, casting a warm, golden glow over the lake. Emma stood on the porch, taking it all in, feeling like this was exactly where she was meant to be. Liam stepped up beside her, wrapping his arm around her shoulders. "This is perfect," he said softly, looking out at the view. "I'm so glad we're here." Emma smiled, leaning into him. "Me too," she said, her heart full. As they stood there, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Emma realized that, for the first time in her life, she was exactly where she was supposed to be with Liam, in a world they were building together, one step at a time. The days at the cabin were everything Emma had hoped for and more. The quiet mornings spent by the lake, sipping coffee together as the sun slowly rose. The evenings filled with shared laughter, cozy dinners, and long walks under the starry sky. It was like they were in their own little world, a world where nothing mattered except the two of them. For the first time in a long time, Emma felt completely at peace, and with Liam by her side, it was as if everything she had ever wanted was within reach. There was no talk of wealth, no pressure of expectations, just two people discovering the joy of each other's company, without distractions. One afternoon, while they were sitting by the lake, Emma looked at Liam, her heart full of emotions she could no longer keep inside. She had been thinking about it for days, and now, in this peaceful moment, she knew what she had to say. "Liam," she began, her voice soft but steady, "I know we've only been together for a short time, but I need you to know something." Liam turned to her, his expression curious but calm. "What is it?" he asked, his eyes warm and understanding. Emma took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "I've spent so much of my life feeling like I wasn't enough, like the world I came from would never be enough for someone like you. I never thought that someone like you could see me for who I really am, not just where I come from or what I do. But with you, I've learned that love isn't about those things. It's about how we make each other feel, about the moments we share and the person we choose to be together. And I've realized that with you, I feel like I finally belong." Liam reached out, gently taking her hand in his. His touch was reassuring, as if he understood everything she was saying without her needing to say more. "Emma," he said softly, his voice filled with emotion, "I don't care about where you come from or what you've been through. I care about who you are right here, right now. You're exactly the person I've been looking for, and I'm so grateful for every moment we've shared. I don't need anything else, Emma. I just need you." Emma's eyes filled with tears at his words, tears she didn't realize she had been holding back. She squeezed his hand, a smile spreading across her face despite the overwhelming emotions in her chest. "I never thought I could be this happy," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "But with you, I am. You make me feel like everything is possible." Liam leaned in, brushing a kiss against her forehead. "You deserve happiness, Emma, and I'm going to spend every day proving to you that you're worth it." The rest of the day passed in a blur, filled with quiet moments, shared smiles. and the feeling that nothing else mattered except the connection they had found. When they returned home to the city, it was as if everything had changed. Emma no longer felt the weight of her insecurities. She no longer worried about their differences. She was with Liam, and that was all that mattered. Over the next few months, they continued to build their life together, each step taking them closer to the future they both wanted. They traveled, they laughed, and they shared their dreams with one another. Emma eventually found the courage to start her own art studio, a small space where she could teach, create, and share her passion with others. Liam supported her every step of the way, proud of her strength and determination. And as they continued to grow, both individually and together, Emma realized that love wasn't about fitting into someone else's world, it was about creating a world together, one built on trust, respect, and a love that had no boundaries. One evening, as they sat together in their living room, Liam turned to Emma, a serious but loving expression on his face. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice low. "We've been through so much together, and I want to make sure we keep going, keep growing, no matter what. Will you marry me, Emma?" Emma's breath caught in her throat, her heart racing at the question she had never expected to hear. She looked into his eyes, seeing nothing but love and certainty. "Yes," she whispered, the word barely leaving her lips before Liam pulled her into a tight embrace, kissing her with all the love and passion they had built together. And as they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, Emma knew that their journey was just beginning. This was the life they had created together, a life filled with love, dreams, and endless possibilities. And no matter what challenges they faced in the future, she knew that as long as they were together, they could overcome anything.